In this video, I'll show you how to enter an invoice in the Emburse Enterprise system. Before we get started, it is important to know DMAC's payment processes. Please pause this video now to review the many ways in which we process payments here at the college. The Emburse Invoice system is only for invoices that were not put in through the banner requisition process. If you ordered goods and services through the requisition process, please send your invoice to purchasing@dmac.edu and do not put it into Emburse. If you've got a quote, you need to also send that to purchasing. That is not done in Emburse. Okay, so you'll first access Emburse Enterprise through our single sign-on link, and you'll find that in My DMAC. Okay, once you're in Emburse, you will see your dashboard. From your dashboard, you will look down below. In green, you will see Invoices. You'll just click on this plus create button here to get started. Before we begin, I'll take you through a brief overview of the various fields within Emburse Invoice. So in this training, we're going to be working with this invoice, and just looking at the invoice itself, it's got all of the pertinent information. It's got the invoice number, the invoice date, the description, quantity, unit price. It's got the information on where to send the check. Looking at this looks like a great invoice. Let's get started. Vendor name. So this information comes directly from Banner. So if you begin to type in the vendor name, or if you know the vendor 900 number, you can type that in to populate the vendor name. We also have a wildcard in here, the asterisk. If you use the asterisk before or after a word, it can also populate vendor names that way. Vendor address. These also come directly from Banner. So after you've found the vendor name, you will use the vendor address field to populate the remittance address of the vendor. Some vendors have multiple addresses, so please be aware when you are selecting from the dropdown. Invoice number. Enter your invoice number here. Invoice numbers should not be more than 35 characters, and special characters are allowed. If there is no invoice number on the invoice, please use the 6-digit month, date, year. For instance, today is February 17th, 2026, so you would enter 021726. Invoice date. Please select the date stated on the invoice. If there is no date on the invoice, simply use the date you're entering in the invoice into Emburse. Invoice amount. Enter the total amount on the invoice. The "Is this a request for payment, non-invoice payment?" box is only to be checked if you do not have a physical invoice. Special handling. Use this section if you'd like to designate someone to pick up the check, or if you'd like us to intercampus mail the check. Pick up check. Only use this feature if you or someone else plans to pick up the check from the business office. Use this dropdown and select Yes, Pick Up By, and then use the box to search for the person who plans to pick up the check. Handling options. This allows you to check a box here and then enter a person's name, campus, and building number if you'd like us to send the check via intercampus mail. Comments. This section here allows you to enter in a comment in the box and then click Post to add any additional information that will be helpful to yourself, the budget manager, or the business office. I see this a lot when people have supplemental documentation that needs to be sent with a check. They'll just put, "Please send the invoice along with the check." Attachments. Here is where you attach your invoice via a PNG, JPEG, PDF, XLS, doc, rich text file. The system usually likes an image file or PDF. So if you try to upload a Word document or an Excel file and it gives you an error, I would suggest saving your document as a PDF and try uploading it that way. Extract data. So Emburse Invoice has the ability to read your invoice and flood in all of the fields and expense details for you. They call this OCR. So if you do extract the data, it will allow Emburse to do that. It will flood in anything you've already typed in. It will kind of replace it. If you click skip, it will just upload the invoice image, and then all the things you entered yourself will still be there. Line item section. So you can actually drag this line item section by putting your cursor over these lines here and then just dragging up to give you more room. Once you click Add Expense, you can begin adding the line items that are on your invoice. If you have an invoice that just has 1 or 2 line items, you can easily do those by adding the information in here. But if you've got an invoice and it's got like 4, 5, 6 line items and all of them are going to the same index and account, you can condense them and put them into one line item. Okay, first thing is the quantity. You're going to enter in the quantity, and then unit price. You're going to enter in how much each of those items costs. As you can see, the amount will populate based on the quantity and unit price. And then description. Please enter the description for the line item. It needs to be a minimum of 10 characters. And if you could also put your department in here as well, this might help if we have any questions about the invoice itself. And the next 2 important fields here are account number and index. So the account number is the line item that these items will be charged to, and index is the budget, so who is paying for these items. Alright, so this Cardtronics USA Inc. invoice, we're going to put it to account code 6269, and the index will be ID card. And then I'm going to hit save. When you are all finished with your invoice, you will click submit, and then you'll click approve to move the invoice along to the budget manager. You will see here it says approval confirmation. Your invoice will still move on to your budget manager. So if you're not needing to put an additional reviewer, you don't have to do this section, it's optional. But if you'd like to loop someone else in on the approval, you can certainly do so. Alright, now I'm going to show you this entire process again, but I'm going to use OCR right off the top, just so you can see what it looks like to have AI flood in all of the fields for us, just kind of what this process would look like if you were to want to use OCR. Okay, so we're going to start by clicking plus create on this invoice banner, and then instead of going to the first field for vendor name, we're actually going to scroll down and we're going to browse, and we are going to click extract data. The screen now changes and it's kind of showing you over here that it's processing the invoice, and after a small while it will show here. Once the invoice is populated on this left-hand side, you can go ahead and click it, and then the invoice fields will show on the right. So now that AI has read the fields, please be sure to double check that it has read each field correctly. OCR is not perfect. In fact, it can make small errors, and so just make sure that you check over all of the fields to make sure it is what it says on your invoice. As you can see here, it read the entire invoice. Each line item that exists when you use OCR still needs you to go in and change the account code and index. You will do that by clicking on this ellipsis here and then clicking edit to edit the line item. So here you can add more information to the description. You can add the account number and the index. There are pros and cons to using OCR. One pro is that it's going to be able to read your invoice and flood in all of the fields for you. I would say give it a try, see what you think of OCR. It's not perfect. You may end up having to change the address or vendor name on your own because it read it wrong. If you don't like it, you could always skip OCR when asked and put those in individually so you know what you're doing is correct. Tracking your invoice can be done by using the following steps. Click View All Submitted under the green invoice header on your Emburse dashboard. Once you do that, you'll click on the invoice. After you click the invoice, you will see tracking on the top right area of your screen. Click that. Then you'll click Show Projected to see all of the routing steps. Here in this example, it's routed to the budget manager, and then it'll make its way to AP Invoice Review, so us here in the business office. If you need to edit an invoice that you've already submitted, you can recall an invoice or RFP, request for payment. When you do that, it will put the item in an orange approval queue where you can edit the invoice and resubmit it for approval. If you wish to delete a recalled invoice or an invoice that you submitted, you can email accountspayable@dmac.edu or reach out to me, lapray@dmac.edu, and we can get it deleted. Alright, I do want to show you how some invoices do have a lot of information on it, but to save yourself time and energy, we can condense those down into one line item. So looking at this invoice in particular, this is for a gentleman who tunes our pianos. It's got his name and address. It doesn't have an invoice number. It's got an invoice date, and then it's got many line items for piano tuning and repair. So let's show you how we can do this in a painless way. Alright, I'm now going to begin filling in these fields according to the invoice. Alright, so I'm going to enter in the invoice number as 013126 because there is no invoice number, so I'm basing it off of the invoice date. And it is $835. This is for tuning and repairs to pianos. The account code is 6060. And the index is EQRSH. The person putting this in wanted the ICI director to be looped in as well, so we're going to go ahead and do that here in the sample just to show you what it looks like. After your invoice has been submitted, it will be routed accordingly. If your invoice is in the AP invoice review queue by the end of business day Thursday without issue, it will be paid during the next Wednesday check run. Here are some important notes. Any invoice with tax will need to be short paid. Please refer to my video on the DMAC Business Office YouTube page to learn how to short pay the tax on an invoice. A credit memo can be put in the same way that you put in an invoice. The prior invoice feature allows you to copy an invoice so you can save time on regularly paid invoices. Please refer to my video on the DMAC Business Office YouTube page in order to see an example of how to use prior invoice. Any invoice for food for DMAC employees requires that a documentation for college business meals form be attached with the invoice. Supplemental documentation that needs to go along with the check will need to be attached along with the invoice and then noted in a comment. Use banner screen FAIVNDH to see the status of your check. Please refer to my video on the DMAC Business Office YouTube page to see how to use this screen. If you're going to add a new vendor to the system or update a current vendor's address, you will need to email accountspayable@dmac.edu along with the vendor's W-9. Accounts Payable can make the change in banner, and then the next day the information will be available in Emburse. Thank you for attending this training. Effective the week of February 23, 2026, confirming invoices, blanket PO invoices, and requests for pay must be submitted through Emburse Enterprise. No longer submit them to invoice@dmac.edu. Requisitions for ordering goods and services will continue through Banner. Quotes, estimates, invoices with assigned PO numbers, and general purchasing questions should be sent to purchasing@dmac.edu. If you're looking for training materials such as the payment process guide or account code information, you can find that at businessoffice.dmac.edu. Thank you so very much for taking the time to watch this training. If you have any questions about Invoice, please reach out to accountspayable@dmac.edu. Thanks and have a great day.